High Commander Davis stood at the main viewport of the Imperial command station, his weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as he gazed at the endless stars. 30 years of military service had taught him to trust his instincts, and, right now, those instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Commander, we have an incoming transmission," said Officer Martin, his voice cutting through Davis's thoughts. "It's unusual, sir?" Davis turned from the viewport. "Unusual how?" "It's using an ancient encryption protocol, one we haven't seen in centuries. And the origin point is—" Martin paused, double-checking his readings. "It's coming from the dead zone, sir." The dead zone. That got Davis's attention. No one had received communications from that sector in over 500 years. Not since the mysterious disappearance of the research fleet sent to study the strange energy patterns there. "Put it through to my private chamber," Davis ordered, already moving toward the door. And not a word of this to anyone. Inside his quarters, Davis activated the security protocols that would prevent any eavesdropping. The holographic display flickered to life, showing not the expected Imperial communications format, but an old-style text message. "To Imperial High Command, we are the Watchers. We have observed your kind for millennia. We do not interfere. Today, we break our silence. Earth is not what it seems, it is a trap. Do not proceed with colonization. Danger beyond understanding awaits. Turn back your ships now. This is our only warning." Davis read the message 3 times, feeling a chill run down his spine. The Watchers were thought to be nothing more than a myth, an ancient race that had supposedly achieved such technological advancement that they had removed themselves from galactic affairs. Some stories claimed they still observed from the shadows, but Davis had always dismissed such tales as spacer legends. And yet, here was a message, using encryption codes that hadn't been used in centuries. Davis's comm unit buzzed. "Commander, the Emperor requests an update on the Earth colonization progress." Perfect timing. The Empire's most ambitious colonization fleet was already on its way to Earth, a seemingly perfect blue planet on the edge of unexplored space. Initial scans had shown abundant resources, a breathable atmosphere, and only primitive indigenous life forms. It was to be the crowning achievement of Emperor Voss's expansion program. And now this warning. "Tell the Emperor I'll report to him personally in 1 hour," Davis replied. He needed to think carefully. The colonization fleet, led by Admiral Wilson, was just days away from reaching Earth. If Davis raised the alarm based on a mysterious message that might well be a hoax, his career would be over. But if he ignored a genuine warning— Davis pulled up the latest data on the Earth mission. The flagship Imperial Glory carried the most advanced scanning technology in the Empire. 5 support carriers transported the colonization equipment and the military forces needed for securing the planet. Over 10,000 personnel, including the Empire's best scientists and engineers. All heading straight toward what the message claimed was a trap. Davis made his decision. He would bring this to the Imperial Council. Let them decide whether to recall the mission. "You expect us to delay the Emperor's prized colonization project because of an anonymous message?" "Admiral." Thompson's voice dripped with scorn. The Imperial Council chamber was filled with the Empire's highest-ranking officials, their faces illuminated by the central holographic display showing the warning message. "Not anonymous," Davis corrected. "The message claims to be from the Watchers." "Myths and legends," scoffed General Reed. "Next you'll tell us the Star Dragons have returned." The Emperor raised his hand for silence. Though only in his 60s, Emperor Voss looked much older, the strain of ruling thousands of worlds etched into his face. "High Commander Davis wouldn't have brought this to our attention without reason," the Emperor said. "What troubles you about this message, Davis?" Davis stepped forward. "The encryption used is authentic Imperial code, but from over 500 years ago. Few outside our highest military archives would even know it existed, let alone how to use it. And the origin point—" "Yes, the so-called dead zone," interrupted Science Minister Blake. "A region of space where we lost contact with a research fleet centuries ago. Perhaps this is some automated message triggered by our renewed interest in that sector. Perhaps, Davis admitted. But what if it's genuine? What if Earth is not what it seems? The room fell silent as the council members considered his words. Our scans show nothing unusual about Earth, Defense Minister Ward finally said. Primitive, technology, simple tribal societies, vast untapped resources. It's perfect for colonization. Scans can be fooled, Davis countered, and we've only observed from a distance. What exactly are you proposing? The Emperor asked. Send a warning to Admiral Wilson. Tell him to approach with extreme caution and to conduct thorough scans before landing any personnel. General Reed laughed. And delay the mission by weeks. The Emperor has already announced the Earth colonization to the public. The celebration, events are scheduled. Backing down now would make us look weak. Davis could see he was losing the argument. Politics was trumping caution, as usual. May I remind the Council, he said firmly, that we've lost contact with 3 scout ships in that sector over the past decade, all dismissed as navigation errors or equipment failures. This caught the Emperor's attention. Is this true? Minister Tew. Blake shifted uncomfortably. There have been incidents. But space is dangerous, Your Majesty. Ships go missing. 3 ships in the same sector is not coincidence, Davis pressed. The Emperor was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. Send a message to Admiral Wilson. Tell him to proceed but with increased caution. Double the scanning protocols before landing. It wasn't everything Davis had hoped for, but it was something. And Davis, the Emperor added as the Council prepared to adjourn, keep this warning to yourself. No need to create panic among the colonists or the public. Davis bowed, hiding his frustration. As you command, Your Majesty. Later that night, alone in his quarters, Davis sent a private message to Admiral Wilson, an old friend from Academy days. The official warning would go through proper channels, carefully worded and watered down by bureaucrats. But Wilson deserved the truth. James, watch yourself at Earth. Something doesn't feel right. I received a warning that I'm taking seriously, even if the Council isn't. Trust your instincts, not just your scans. Whatever you find there, be prepared for the unexpected. Safe travels, old friend. Crier, as he sent the message, Davis looked out at the stars. The Earth colonization fleet was still visible as a bright dot moving slowly across the sky. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching them sail toward disaster. But what kind of trap could possibly threaten the might of the Imperial fleet? And why would the legendary Watchers break their silence after centuries just to warn them? Something ancient and powerful was waiting at Earth. Davis was certain of it now, and the Empire was heading straight for it. Admiral Wilson stood on the bridge of the Imperial Glory, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue planet grow larger on the main view screen. Earth, their new frontier. After 6 months of space travel, they had finally arrived. It's beautiful, said his second-in-command, Captain Bell. Hard to believe this could be any kind of trap. Wilson's jaw tightened. Davis's private message had been playing on his mind for days. His old friend wasn't known for baseless worries. Beauty can hide danger, Wilson replied. Run the enhanced scanning protocols again. I want to be certain. Captain Bell nodded and gave the order. The bridge crew moved with efficient precision, their fingers dancing across control panels as the ship's powerful sensors probed the planet below. Sir, called out the sensor officer after several minutes. Scans show nothing unusual. Primitive technology only. No energy signatures beyond what's expected from their basic power systems. Most of their weapons are still projectile-based. Wilson nodded, but something didn't feel right. What about those large structures near their oceans? Military bases, sir. Naval installations. Nothing that could threaten us. Professor Taylor, the fleet's lead xenobiologist, had been quietly observing from the side of the bridge. She stepped forward now, her eyes fixed on the secondary screens showing Earth's wildlife. Admiral, may I speak freely? She asked. Of course, Professor. Taylor pointed to several images. These life forms don't make sense. Their evolutionary patterns are inconsistent. It's as if some species evolved naturally, while others appear almost engineered. Engineered? By whom? Wilson asked, his interest piqued. That's what concerns me. The humans themselves don't appear to have the technology for genetic engineering at this level. It's almost as if, she hesitated, as if something else has been experimenting here for a very long time. Wilson considered this information. Could this be related to the warning Commander Davis received? Possibly, Taylor replied. I need more data. Permission to join the landing party? Wilson thought for a moment. Granted, but stay close to Captain Reed. I want our best minds protected. 6 hours later, the Imperial landing shuttles descended through Earth's atmosphere. They had chosen a large open area near what humans called their United Nations building, a primitive attempt at planetary governance. Captain Reed led the first shuttle, with Professor Taylor and 10 Imperial guards in full combat armor. As they broke through the cloud cover, Reed noticed something odd. They're not panicking, he said, looking at the crowds of humans gathering below. First contact with an alien species, and they're just watching us. Indeed, the humans had formed orderly lines, with what appeared to be their military forces creating a perimeter. No signs of chaos, no running, no visible fear. Perhaps they've seen ships before, suggested one of the guards. Or perhaps they were expecting us, Taylor said quietly. The shuttle landed smoothly on the designated area. Captain Reed straightened his uniform and turned to his team. Remember your training. We represent the Galactic Empire. Show strength but not aggression. These primitives will soon be Imperial citizens. The shuttle door opened, revealing the bright sunlight of Earth. A group of humans in formal attire stood waiting. At their center was a tall man with silver-streaked hair and a calm expression. Reed led his team down the ramp, stopping a few meters from the human delegation. He activated his universal translator. I am Captain Reed of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. We come in peace, bringing the benefits of Imperial civilization to your world. The silver-haired man stepped forward. Welcome to Earth, Captain. I am Director Morgan of the Global Defense Initiative. We've been anticipating your arrival. Reed blinked in surprise. You anticipated our arrival? How is that possible? Morgan smiled. We have been watching the stars for a very long time, Captain. Please follow me. We have prepared a welcome ceremony. As they walked toward a large building, Professor Taylor hung back, her eyes darting around the surroundings. Something caught her attention. A structure in the distance that seemed oddly out of place among the primitive buildings. Its architecture was different, almost familiar. She nudged Captain Reed. That building, it doesn't match their technology level. Reed frowned. Stay focused, Professor. We'll have time for sightseeing later. Director Morgan led them into a grand hall, where representatives from Earth's nations waited. The conversations that followed were surprisingly smooth. The humans showed no fear of the advanced technology the Imperial team carried. They asked intelligent questions about the Empire and offered surprisingly reasonable terms for their integration. Too reasonable, Reed thought, almost as if they'd done this before. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Imperial Glory's sensors detected something unusual. Admiral, called the sensor officer, I'm picking up energy signatures beneath the ocean floor. They weren't there before. Wilson moved quickly to the console. Show me. The screen displayed a map of Earth's oceans with pulsing red dots indicating massive energy buildups in the deepest parts of the waters. Similar readings were coming from beneath the polar ice caps. When did this start? Wilson demanded. Right. After our landing party made contact, sir. Wilson's comm unit buzzed. It was an emergency transmission from Imperial High Command, from Davis himself. James, pull your people out now. The Watchers have sent another message with proof. Earth. The transmission cut off abruptly. Sir, the communications officer called out. We're detecting a powerful signal coming from Earth's surface. It's interfering with our long-range communications. Wilson felt a chill run down his spine. Prepare a retrieval shuttle immediately. Get our landing party back on board. Sir, look at this, the tactical officer interrupted, pointing to another screen. The image showed Earth's moon, but there was something wrong with it. Part of its surface was shifting, revealing what looked like an enormous structure embedded within. What in the Emperor's name is that? Wilson whispered. The sensor officer's voice shook as he replied, Whatever it is, sir. It's waking up. On the surface, Professor, Taylor had slipped away from the main delegation. Her scientific curiosity had drawn her to that strange building she'd noticed earlier. Up close, it was even more bizarre, seemingly made of stone, yet with a subtle glow emanating from symbols carved into its walls. The symbols looked ancient, yet somehow reminded her of mathematical equations she'd seen in the Empire's most advanced physics texts. Fascinating, isn't it? Came a voice behind her. Taylor spun around to find Director Morgan standing there, watching her with a knowing smile. These ruins predate human civilization, he said casually. We've never been able to fully understand them. Who built them? Taylor asked. Morgan's smile faded. The same beings who built us, Professor. Earth has many secrets. Some are better left buried. Before Taylor could ask what he meant, her communicator buzzed with an urgent message from the Imperial Glory. All landing party personnel, return. To shuttles immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Taylor looked at Morgan, who seemed unsurprised by this development. You should go, Professor, he said softly. But know this, it's already too late. The trap was sprung the moment your ships entered our solar system. As Taylor hurried back toward the landing site, the ground beneath her feet began to tremble slightly as if something massive was stirring deep below the surface of the Earth. Professor Taylor ran toward the landing shuttle, her heart pounding as the ground continued to tremble beneath her feet. Imperial guards were rushing in the same direction, their weapons drawn. Professor! Captain Reed shouted, waving from the shuttle entrance. Move faster! She reached the shuttle just as a loud rumbling sound filled the air. Looking back, she saw Director Morgan standing calmly amid the chaos, watching them with an expression that sent chills down her spine. The shuttle doors closed, and they lifted off into the sky. Through the viewport, Taylor could see strange lights appearing at different points across the city. Captain, she said urgently, I found something. Ancient ruins with technology far beyond what humans should possess. Reed's face was grim. I've seen some odd things myself. These humans, they're not acting like a species encountering aliens. For the first time, the shuttle pilot's voice came over the speaker. Sir, the Imperial Glory is reporting massive energy signatures activating all over the planet. Admiral Wilson has ordered immediate evacuation. Taylor pulled out her datapad and showed Reed the images she'd captured of the strange building. Look at these symbols. They're similar to ancient Arcturian mathematics, but far more complex. Reed studied the images with a frown. How did you know to look for this? I didn't, Taylor admitted. But Earth's evolutionary patterns don't make sense. Some species show signs of natural evolution, but humans look engineered. Before Reed could respond, their shuttle shook violently. What was that? Reed demanded. Unknown, sir, the pilot replied. Some kind of energy field just activated around the planet. Aboard the Imperial Glory, Admiral Wilson stared in disbelief at the tactical display. A shimmering energy barrier was forming in Earth's upper atmosphere, already surrounding half the planet. Get those shuttles through before that barrier completes, he ordered. Sir, called the communications officer, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's Director Morgan requesting to speak with you. Wilson nodded. Put him through. Morgan's face appeared on the screen, still wearing that unnervingly calm expression. Admiral Wilson, he said smoothly, I strongly advise you to recall your other ships before they enter Earth's orbit. The defensive grid is activating, and I cannot guarantee their safety if they approach. What defensive grid? Wilson demanded. Earth doesn't have technology capable of... Earth has many secrets, Admiral. Morgan interrupted. Some older than your empire, some older than humanity itself. Wilson's eyes narrowed. Who are you really? We are the Guardians, Morgan replied simply, and you have disturbed what we protect. Before Wilson could respond, the tactical officer called out in alarm. Sir, 3 Imperial cruisers just attempted to enter firing positions around Earth. Their weapons systems they've just gone offline. Wilson turned back to the screen. What did you do? Morgan shook his head. That wasn't us, Admiral. That was Earth. This planet has been preparing for threats like your empire for millions of years. Now I will tell you once, leave peacefully or face consequences beyond your understanding. The transmission cut off. Wilson slammed his fist on the console. Get me high command. In the science lab aboard the Imperial Glory, Professor Taylor worked frantically, analyzing the samples and data she had collected from Earth's surface. Captain Reed stood nearby, overseeing the evacuation plans for the remaining ground teams. This makes no sense, Taylor muttered, staring at her screens. These DNA patterns. Humans aren't native to Earth. They were placed here, engineered to survive in this environment. Engineered by whom? Reed asked. Taylor pointed to another screen showing the strange symbols she had photographed. I ran these through our archaeological database. They match fragments found on dead worlds across 3 galaxies. Worlds that show signs of advanced civilizations that suddenly vanished. The lab door slid open as Admiral Wilson entered, his face dark with concern. Professor, Captain, I need answers. Earth just neutralized our weapon systems with technology we can't even detect. Taylor hesitated, then pulled up a 3-dimensional model on her main screen. Admiral, I believe Earth is not a regular planet. The ruins I found, the strange energy readings, the engineered humans, it all points to one conclusion. She took a deep breath. Earth is some kind of containment facility. Wilson stared at her. Containment? For what? I don't know yet, but look at this. She showed them scans of the deep energy signatures. These patterns are consistent with ancient power sources, but on a scale we've never seen before. And they're all connected to something at the planet's core. Their conversation was interrupted as the ship suddenly lurched sideways. Bridge to Admiral Wilson, came an urgent voice over the comm. Sir, we've just tried to move out of orbit, but we can't break free. Some kind of gravitational anomaly is holding us in place. Wilson's face paled. The trap. Director Morgan stood in a vast underground chamber beneath the United Nations building. Around him, representatives from Earth's major powers had gathered, their faces showing a mixture of fear and determination. The Imperial ships are contained, Morgan announced, but we have a problem. The entity is responding to their presence. The disturbance is greater than we anticipated. An older woman stepped forward. How bad is it, Director? Morgan gestured to a holographic display showing Earth's core. Within it, a pulsing mass of energy was growing brighter. The prison seals are holding, but they're being tested. After 50,000 years of dormancy, the entity is stirring. Can we reinforce the containment? A military general asked. We're activating all ancient defenses, Morgan replied. But remember our purpose. We were created for this moment, to prevent the entity's escape at all costs. The chamber doors opened, and a guard escorted Professor Taylor in. Her eyes widened as she took in the advanced technology filling the underground facility. Technology that shouldn't exist on primitive Earth. Professor, Morgan greeted her. I'm glad you decided to return. Your people shot down our shuttle, Taylor replied coldly. I didn't have much choice. Morgan nodded. You have questions. Now I can provide answers. He led her to the central platform where a 3-dimensional model of Earth floated, its core glowing with strange energy. Humanity wasn't born on Earth, Professor. We were placed here, engineered by an alliance of ancient species to serve as guardians. Guardians of what? Taylor asked, though she feared she already knew the answer. Morgan pointed to the pulsing light at Earth's core. That, he said simply, an entity of unimaginable power, a being that can bend reality itself. The ancients fought a terrible war against it, but they couldn't destroy it. So they built this prison, Earth, and sealed it away. Taylor stared at the display in horror. And humans? We were created to be resistant to its influence, to maintain the prison when the ancients were gone. For thousands of years we've kept it contained, hidden from the rest of the galaxy. And now? Taylor whispered. Morgan's face was grim. Now your empire has disturbed its slumber. Your ships, your technology, your very presence has agitated it. And if it fully awakens... A tremendous rumble shook the facility, causing dust to fall from the ceiling. The entity is testing its bonds, Morgan said, his calm facade finally showing cracks of worry. And I fear this is just the beginning. Admiral Wilson paced the bridge of the Imperial Glory, his face tight with frustration. 3 hours had passed since they discovered they couldn't break free from Earth's orbit. 5 attempts to escape had failed. 3 smaller vessels had tried, different exit vectors, only to be pulled back by the strange gravitational field. Status report, Wilson demanded. No change, sir, said the tactical officer. We're fixed in position. The energy barrier surrounding the planet is still active, and we've lost contact with 2 more landing parties. Wilson slammed his fist on the command console. This is unacceptable. Prepare the main cannon. Captain Bell stepped forward, concern etched on his face. Sir, are you suggesting we fire on the planet? Not the planet, Wilson clarified. Just one of their major military installations. A show of force to let them know we won't be held prisoner. But sir, our weapon systems are still offline. Wilson's eyes narrowed. Engineering reports they've bypassed the interference. We have 30% weapon capacity. That should be enough for a warning shot. Bell hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Target coordinates, sir. The facility near what they call the North Pole. It's showing the strongest energy readings but has minimal human population. The bridge crew worked quickly, preparing the reduced power weapon systems. Wilson watched the targeting screen with grim determination. Fire, he ordered. The Imperial Glory shuddered as its main cannon discharged a powerful energy beam toward Earth. The beam traveled halfway to the planet before hitting the energy barrier, and then, inexplicably, curved back upward. Evasive maneuvers! Wilson shouted, but it was too late. The redirected beam struck the Imperial Glory's left wing, causing the massive ship to rock violently. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. Damage report, Wilson demanded, picking himself up from the floor. Hull breach in sections 5 through 9, reported the damage control officer. Force fields holding, but we've lost 20% of our power reserves. Wilson stared at the view screen in disbelief. They turned our own weapon against us. Sir, called the communications officer. Incoming transmission from Earth. Director Morgan's face appeared on screen, his expression severe. That was unwise, Admiral. We warned you not to take hostile action. You're holding my fleet prisoner, Wilson shot back. For your protection as much as ours, Morgan replied. But you've now made things worse. Your weapon's energy signature has agitated the entity further. Observe. The transmission changed to show a view of Earth from space. Across the planet's surface, faint lines of glowing energy were appearing, like veins of light spreading across continents and oceans. What is that? Wilson whispered. The ancient containment grid activating fully, Morgan explained. It hasn't been at full power in thousands of years. We're trying to reinforce the seals, but your continued presence is making that difficult. Wilson was about to respond when a junior officer approached, his face pale. Admiral, the young man said quietly, we're getting reports from multiple decks. The crew is seeing things, hallucinations. Several have become violent. Wilson felt a chill run down his spine. He turned back to Morgan's image. What's happening to my people? The entity is waking up, Morgan said grimly. And its influence is spreading. Deep beneath Earth's surface, Professor Taylor followed Director Morgan through a maze of ancient corridors. The walls were lined with technology that looked both incredibly old and impossibly advanced. These chambers were built millions of years ago, Morgan explained as they walked. Before humans, before most of the current species in the galaxy evolved. Who built them? Taylor asked, running her hand along symbols etched into the wall. We know them only as the architects. They fought the entity across multiple dimensions before finally trapping it here. They entered a vast circular room where hundreds of humans worked at control stations. At the center stood a column of swirling energy, pulsing with colors Taylor had never seen before. This is the main control hub for the containment system, Morgan said. From here, we monitor the prison seals and make adjustments when necessary. A technician rushed up to them, panic evident in his eyes. Director, the outer shell is showing fractures in Quadrant 7. The entity's pressure is increasing exponentially. Morgan's calm demeanor finally broke. How long until breach? Hours, maybe less if the pressure continues to rise. Morgan turned to Taylor. Your admiral made a grave mistake. The energy from your weapons has given the entity a taste of power it can use. It's feeding on it, growing stronger. Taylor looked at the displays around the room, finally understanding the true scale of what they were facing. What happens if it gets out? Reality itself will bend to its will, Morgan said. It exists partly in our dimension and partly outside it. Its power is beyond comprehension. The ground beneath them trembled, more violently than before. Can't you just explain this to Admiral Wilson? Taylor asked. If he understood the danger. I've tried, Morgan interrupted, but I fear it may be too late. The entity's influence likely affects his mind already. The human mind is resistant, but your brains aren't wired for protection like ours. On the Imperial Glory, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Crew members reported seeing impossible things, shadows that moved against the light, voices whispering in empty rooms, glimpses of homeworlds that should be light years away. Admiral Wilson sat in his quarters, head in his hands, fighting against strange thoughts that didn't feel like his own. Visions of power, of conquest, of becoming something greater than human flooded his mind. Release me, a voice seemed to whisper in his ear. Free me and your empire will rule not just this galaxy but all realities. Wilson shook his head violently, trying to clear it. Get out of my mind, he growled. Why fight? I offer you everything you desire. Power, knowledge, immortality. A chime at his door provided welcome interruption. Captain Bell entered, looking haggard. Sir, we have a situation. The crew. Many are falling under some kind of influence. They're talking about breaking the planet open to free what's inside. Some are trying to override weapon controls. Wilson stood up, fighting against the fog in his mind. Lock down all weapon systems. No one fires on that planet without my direct command. There's more, sir, Bell continued. Long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching. Imperial ships. Wilson frowned. Reinforcements? I didn't request any. No, sir, it's the 7th Fleet, led by High Commander Davis himself. For the first time in hours, Wilson felt a spark of hope. If anyone would understand the danger they were in, it would be Davis. His old friend had tried to warn him from the beginning. Open a channel as soon as they're in range, Wilson ordered. And Bell, be careful who you trust. Something is trying to get into our heads. As Bell left, Wilson turned to look out his viewport at the blue planet below. Its surface now pulsed, with web-like patterns of energy, growing brighter by the minute. The trap had not just been sprung, it was beginning to break. High Commander Davis stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Destiny, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. The planet was surrounded by a web of glowing energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Imperial ships hung motionless in orbit, trapped by forces Davis could barely comprehend. Status report on the Imperial Glory, Davis ordered. Their systems are functioning at 60% capacity, sir, reported his tactical officer. Life signs appear stable, but we're detecting unusual energy patterns throughout the ship. Davis nodded grimly. The Watcher's second message had been even more disturbing than the first, containing ancient records about Earth and the terrible entity imprisoned within it. They had warned that direct contact could lead to mental corruption, exactly what seemed to be happening to Wilson's fleet. "Open a secure channel to Admiral Wilson," Davis ordered. "Use the old encryption protocol we developed at the Academy." Moments later, Wilson's face appeared on screen. Davis was shocked by his friend's appearance. Dark circles under bloodshot. Eyes, skin pale and drawn. "James, what's your situation?" Davis asked without preamble. Wilson's voice came through, strained and tired. "Not good, Sam. Something is influencing my crew. Hallucinations, whispers. Some have become violent. We're holding, but it's getting worse." "I received another message from the Watchers," Davis said. "They've sent data on what we're dealing with. This entity, it can affect minds, manipulate reality itself." Wilson nodded weakly. "The humans know. They've been guarding it for thousands of years. Their leader Morgan has been trying to fix the containment systems, but our presence is making it worse." He leaned closer to the screen. "Sam, we need to leave. All of us. But we can't break free from orbit." "I'm working on that," Davis assured him. "Just hold on." As the transmission ended, Davis turned to his science officer. "Prepare the pulse generator according to the Watcher's specifications. It might disrupt whatever is holding the fleet in place." Professor Taylor worked frantically alongside Earth scientists in the ancient control room. The containment system's displays flashed with warning signals as the entity pushed against its prison with growing strength. "The primary seals are failing in the Pacific quadrant," called out a technician. "Energy levels rising beyond safety parameters." Director Morgan moved between workstations, his earlier calm replaced by focused urgency. "Divert power from the secondary grid. We need to reinforce that section before—" A violent tremor shook the facility, knocking people off their feet and sending equipment crashing to the floor. The central energy column flared blindingly bright. "It's breaking through!" someone shouted. Taylor picked herself up and ran to Morgan's side. "What happens if it escapes completely?" Morgan's face was grave. "First, it will consume Earth. Then, with that power, it will spread across spacetime, bending reality to its will. Nothing in this galaxy will survive as it currently exists." Taylor's mind raced. The Watcher's message to the Empire, they knew this would happen. The Watchers were part of the original alliance that imprisoned the entity, Morgan explained. They've maintained their vigil from afar, while humans stood guard directly. Another tremor, stronger than before, rocked the facility. "Director," a technician called out. "We're detecting new ships entering orbit, more Imperial vessels." Morgan looked at the display. "Your reinforcements have arrived, Professor, but they may have just made everything worse." On the bridge of the Destiny, Davis felt the ship shudder as they activated the pulse generator. A wave of energy spread outward, washing over the trapped Imperial ships and the energy barrier surrounding Earth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the tactical officer called out, "Sir, the gravitational anomaly is weakening. Imperial Glory reports their engines are responding." "Tell all ships to prepare for immediate departure," Davis ordered. "We're getting out of this system." "Commander," interrupted the communications officer, "we're receiving a direct transmission from Earth's surface. They're requesting to speak with you personally." Davis hesitated, then nodded. "Put it through." Director Morgan appeared on screen, with Professor Taylor standing beside him. "High Commander Davis," Morgan began. "I understand your desire to flee, but I must warn you, it's too late for that. The entity has already established connections with your ships and crew. If you leave now, you'll carry its influence throughout your empire." Davis frowned. "And I should trust you, why? For all I know, you're the threat the Watchers warned us about." "The Watchers warned you about what's inside Earth," Taylor cut in. "Not the humans. We're the Guardians, the prison wardens." "She's right," Morgan said. "The Watchers know us well. They helped create us for this purpose. Here." He transmitted a data packet to Davis's ship. Davis watched as ancient records played across his screen, showing the creation of Earth as a prison, the engineering of humans with specific resistance to the entity's influence, and the formation of the Guardian Alliance that included the mysterious Watchers. "Even if I believe you," Davis said slowly, "what can we do? My priority is saving my people." "We have one option," Morgan replied. "Join us in repairing the containment system. With your technology and our knowledge of the ancient systems, we might be able to restore the seals before full breach occurs." Another violent tremor shook Earth, visible even from orbit. Fissures of brilliant light appeared across the planet's surface. "You don't have much time to decide," Morgan added grimly. Admiral Wilson had managed to gather his remaining loyal officers in the Imperial Glory's secure conference room. Many of the crew had fallen completely under the entity's influence, and security teams were fighting to maintain control of critical systems. "We need to help the humans," Wilson told his officers, his voice hoarse but determined. "This thing, whatever it is, it's using us, using our presence, our technology, our minds to break free." "Sir," objected his security chief, "how do we know the humans aren't manipulating us?" "Because I can feel the difference," Wilson said simply. "The human director speaks with his own voice. This other thing," he tapped his temple, "it whispers promises of power, of godhood. It doesn't care about us except as tools." The ship's comm system activated. "Wilson, it's Davis. I've made contact with Earth's leadership. They're proposing a joint operation to repair the containment system." Wilson straightened. "I'm with you, old friend. What do you need us to do?" The next 12 hours were a desperate race against time. Imperial ships positioned themselves at key points around Earth, using their advanced technology to reinforce the ancient containment grid. Teams of Imperial engineers worked alongside human specialists following designs provided by both Earth's ancient archives and new data from the Watchers. Professor Taylor found herself working directly with High Commander Davis in Earth's main control facility. Despite everything, she was impressed by his quick understanding of the complex systems. "Your empire builds impressive ships," she remarked, as they recalibrated a power coupling. "But this technology is beyond even your science." Davis nodded. "The Watchers said this was built by beings who had evolved millions of years before any current species. They called them the precursors." A final tremor shook the facility, then gradually subsided. The displays showed the energy, patterns stabilizing across the planet. "I think it's working," Taylor said cautiously. Director Morgan entered the control room, exhaustion evident on his face, but relief in his eyes. "The containment field is restabilizing," he confirmed. "The entity is being forced back into dormancy." He turned to Davis. "We owe your people a debt of gratitude, Commander." Davis shook his head. "We caused this crisis in the first place." "Perhaps," Morgan acknowledged, "but you also helped end it. And now you understand why Earth must remain independent." "The Imperial Council won't like it," Davis admitted, "but I'll make them understand. Earth isn't a world to be conquered. It's the most important defensive position in the galaxy." 1 week later, the Imperial fleet prepared to depart Earth's orbit. The containment system had been not just repaired but improved with Imperial technology. A small contingent of Imperial ships would remain in the system, not as conquerors, but as allies in the ongoing vigil. Admiral Wilson and High Commander Davis stood at the Imperial Glory's viewport, looking down at the blue planet below. The strange energy patterns had faded, making Earth once again appear like an ordinary world. "The Emperor has officially recognized Earth's sovereign status," Davis said. "A first in Imperial history, a world we won't attempt to colonize." Wilson nodded. "And the Watchers?" "Back to their silent observation, I imagine. But they've opened a direct channel for emergencies." Davis glanced at his old friend. "How are you feeling?" "Better. The whispers are gone." Wilson's expression turned serious. "But I won't forget them. None of us who heard it will." As the Imperial ships finally broke orbit and headed for deep space, a small observation post on the far side of Earth's moon tracked their departure. Inside, Director Morgan stood with Professor Taylor. "Do you think they'll keep their word?" Taylor asked. Morgan nodded. "They've seen what's at stake, and now they know The real war isn't between species or empires. It's between reality as we know it and what lurks beyond. On a distant screen behind them, data continued to stream in from monitoring systems buried deep beneath Earth's surface. At the planet's core, the entity slumbered once again, contained but eternal. The ancient prison held, reinforced now, by a new alliance of guardians stretching across the stars. The trap had been sprung, but together they had survived it. For now.